जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन भज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन भज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा शिल प्रभुपदा जय जय प्रभुपदा जय जय प्रभुपदा हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 14, verse number 18. Kvachit graha ashrama karma chodhanati bhara. I'll just recite, it's a prose. So, bhara girim aru rukshamano loka vyasan karshita manaha kantaka sharkara kshetram pravishan iva sidati. Word to word meanings. Kvachit, sometimes. Graha ashrama, in householder life. Karma chodhana, of the rules of fruitive activity. Ati bhara girim, the big hill. Aru rukshamanaha, desiring to ascend. Loka, material. Vyasana, to pursuits. Karshita manaha, whose mind is attracted. Kantaka sharkara chetram, a field covered with thorns and sharp pebbles. Pravishan, entering. Iva, like. Sidati, he laments. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. In household life, one is ordered to execute many yagyas and fruitive activities, especially the Vivaha yagya, the marriage ceremony for sons and daughters, and the sacred thread ceremony. These are all the duties of a grahastha, and they are very extensive and troublesome to execute. They are compared to a big hill over which one must cross when one is attached to material activities. A person desiring to cross over these ritualistic ceremonies certainly feels pains like the piercing of thorns and pebbles, endured by one attempting to climb a hill. Thus, the conditioned soul suffers unlimitedly. Purport. There are many social functions for keeping prestigious position in society. In different countries and society, there are various festivals and rituals. In India, the father is supposed to get his children married. When he does so, his responsibility to the family is complete. Arranging marriages is very difficult, especially in these days. At the present moment, no one can perform the proper ritual of sacrifice, nor can anyone afford to pay for the marriage ceremony of sons and daughters. Therefore, householders are very much distressed when they are confronted by these social duties. It is as though they were pierced by thorns and hurt by pebbles. Material attachment is so strong that despite the suffering, one cannot give it up. Prahlad Maharaj therefore recommends Hitvatma patam graham andakupam vanam gatoya dharimashrayeta. The so-called comfortable family position is compared to a dark well in a field. If one falls in a dark well covered by grass, his life is lost, despite his cry for rescue. Highly advanced spiritualists therefore recommend that one should not enter the Grahastha ashrama. It is better to prepare oneself in the Brahmacharya ashrama for austerities and remain a pure brahmachari throughout one's life, so that one will not feel the piercing thorns of material life in the Grahastha Ashrama. In the Grahastha Ashrama, one has to accept invitation from friends and relatives and perform ritualistic ceremonies. By doing so, one becomes captivated by such things, although he may not have sufficient resources to continue them. To maintain the Grahastha lifestyle, one has to work very hard to acquire money. Thus, one is implicated in material life and he suffers the thorn pricks. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroh Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashat Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaur Tushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataro Bhisha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mokam karoti vacharam pangum langayate girim yat kripatam ham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So we are discussing this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which we have already covered, that this is a discussion going on between Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, where what was discussed in the previous chapter or what teachings were given by Jad Bharat to Maharaj Rahugana, they are being properly explained or they are being explained elaborately. And this is one of the verses of those series of verses. And this verse mainly focuses on talks about household life. So here multiple aspects are given, or we'll try to cover some of those aspects that are given in the verse. So one thing it speaks about is, or the verse says, Kochit Graha Ashrama Karma Chodana. That he talks about, or Shukdev Goswami is explaining about the householder life. That how in the householder life there are many Karma Chodana, or many rules are there, rules and regulations are there. So generally people feel there is no rules and regulations, or people don't feel like following any rules and regulations, or it's a license to do any illicit activity. But here it very, very clearly described that there are some rules and regulations even in the Grahastha Ashrama, even in the householder life. There are many rules and regulations that are there. And here Prabhupada explains that one is ordered to execute many yagyas, or many samskaras that are there. As we already discussed, there are 16 different samskaras that have to be performed. Right from the beginning, right from the Garbhadhana samskar that happens, and then many other Jat Karma samskar, and then this one of the most important Vivaha samskar, Anteshti samskar, and different samskars, which a householder is expected to perform, or he is expected to do all these samskaras. And here it's described that these activities that are there, so Karma Chodanati Bhara Girim Aru Rukshamano. It said Ati Bhara Girim. That they are like climbing over a very, very big hill. Or of course, naturally we understand if you have to climb over a very, very big and steep hill, it will be naturally difficult. It won't be easy. And similarly, all these activities that are given, all these different samskaras that are there, the different activities that are there, they are also described that they are very, very extensive and troublesome to execute. Or they are not easy, they are not very simple. They are very, very extensive, they are very, very troublesome. Just like climbing over a big hill is not easy, it is very, very troublesome. Similarly, all these activities, all these samskaras, they are also very, very troublesome to execute. And then it's mentioned Aruruksha Mahano, or the person is wanting to cross or desiring to ascend on this hill. The person who has entered into householder life, he wants to cross over the hill, he wants to climb this hill. But naturally, it is very, very difficult. It is not easy. So now question comes that why does a person wants to climb this hill? Or why does a person wants to enter this household life if it is very, very difficult, or if, as it's mentioned, it's very, very troublesome to execute? And that answer is also given in this verse itself, Karshita Manaha, that the person's mind is very, very attracted to all these enjoyments. And this is what is mentioned as the most important disease in this world. So even if people know that this is troublesome, this is very, very difficult to execute, but then the material attachment is so strong that despite the suffering, or despite knowing it is very, very difficult, the person cannot give it up. Or it's not easy for everyone to give it up. And that is what is given here as Karshita Mana, that the person's mind is very, very attached. So even though he faces so many troubles, so many difficulties, he's still not able to give it up. And that's why Prabhupada quotes this verse from Prahlad Maharaj, Tat sadhu manya suravarya dehinam sada samudvigna diham asadgrahat hitvatma patam graham andakupam vanam gatoyad harimashrayata. So he talks about, this is the thing which Prahlad Maharaj tells to his father Hiranyakashipu, that those people who have accepted this householder life, those people who are in the materialistic way of life, who are in the bodily concept of life, it is like jumping into, or it is like falling into a deep dark well. Hitvatma patam graham andakupam. That this householder life is like a deep dark well where there is no water, where only darkness is there. And the person naturally, in searching for water, very, very thirsty, naturally becomes distressed in that condition, naturally becomes very, very pathetic in that condition. So this is what this is compared to. But still the person is not able to give it up because the person is attached. And we have many such examples. We have the example we give in that Gita course in the sessions of the person who is running from an elephant. So very dangerous wild elephant is running behind the person. Person is trying to protect himself. And then finally goes and climbs a tree. And the elephant, very, very strong, very, very powerful, running behind the person, he starts shaking the tree. Very, very wild elephant starts shaking the tree vigorously. And the person is about to fall from the branch. He just catches hold of by his hands the branch, but he's about to fall. He's in a very, very dangerous condition, and it's described just like we give that example of the tree, where the elephant is shaking the tree, the person is about to fall down. And then on the branch, the rats are also there. So 2 rats are there. One is the white and one is the black rat. And they are also consistently biting the tree or biting the branch. And naturally, if they are biting the branch, even if the person is very strong, is able to hold the branch, with time he has to fall down. And the condition is described that below there is a pit of snakes that is there. Snakes waiting, as soon as the person falls down, they will bite the person. And above, it's described, above the tree there is a honeycomb, or the hive that is there where all the honeys are gathered, and they are also constantly biting the person. They are constantly afflicting the person. And even in that condition, even in such a precarious condition, even if everything looks like everything is very, very pathetic, miserable here, the person is in a very, very dangerous condition. And even in that dangerous condition, when the elephant is moving that, shaking that tree very, very vigorously, and a little drop of honey falls from the comb, falls from the hive. And the person, it falls on the face of the person licks that honey, and he becomes satisfied, or he becomes happy. He forgets the misery that is there. And this is what is described as the illusion the people are in this world. Even though they are going through so many problems, so many trouble, but that little drop of honey or little happiness that they get here and there, they become completely illusioned. And even in this analogy, the elephant that is given, the elephant is compared to death personified. or how death is devouring a person or killing a person at every moment. As Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, Mrityu Sarva Harashaham, that I am the one who comes in the form of death. Or as Prabhupada explains, for the atheists who do not believe in God, Lord comes in the form of death to take everything away. So this elephant is compared to the death which is constantly devouring the person, constantly eating the person, finishing the life of the person. Or the time that is getting finished with, or with time the person is losing his strength. And the black and white rats that are there, they are compared to day and night. How as through the passing of the day and passing of the night, the person is losing his time, a person is losing his duration. Just like those rats are biting the branch, and the branch is losing its strength, or branch is about to fall down in some time. Similarly, no matter what a person does, what a person tries, day and night, as the days and nights are passing, he is losing his duration of life, and he cannot do anything about it. And anytime the branch can fall, or anytime anything can happen. And that's why we see that how death is constantly devouring the person. As Bhagavad Gita describes about the 6 changes which every living entity goes through. Be it a human being, be it an animal, everyone takes birth, everyone grows for some time, everyone grows, everyone stays for some time, everyone then reproduces. Of course, brahmacharis are an exception, but in general, everyone reproduces. And then they dwindle and they vanish. So this way we see everyone is going through that phase. And finally, everyone has to meet death, no matter who the person is. And similar is this analogy given here, where the elephants, these snakes, and the snakes that are there below, they are compared to the different big obstacles that are there in the person's life. Person goes through different obstacles in his life, some crisis, health crisis, financial crisis, and so many other problems. And they are compared to the snakes that are there below in the pit. And the honeys that are biting the person, the honeys are compared to the day-to-day problems the person faces in his life. Constantly the person is facing many problems in his life. He's going through many troubles, facing many anxieties, and they are compared to those honeybees or the bees that are biting the person. But still, in all that problem, in all those circumstances, whatever it be, the person, because he gets some little happiness or some little enjoyment here and there, and he forgets all the problems. Or he completely becomes illusioned, thinking that this is a place, or this a place where I can enjoy, or where I can get some happiness. And this is what the precarious condition that is described even in this world. And that's what it describes. Sometimes people say, okay, problems can come for some time, maybe with time they'll go away. With time again I can enjoy. But then it never always happens that way. Sometimes there are many problems which continuously they continue for a person, like some chronic diseases. The person has to face the problems throughout. Or even when COVID came, initially people were thinking maybe 1 month, 2 months it will go away, 3 months it will go away. But it continued and completely changed the lives of the person. But still the person is so conditioned, so illusioned that he becomes adaptive. Even in that he starts finding ways of sense gratification, how to enjoy himself. And that is what the thing that is described here. We see the similar pastime, or just related to this, a pastime of even Gajendra. A similar thing that happens in that pastime. So we know Gajendra was a great elephant, very strong, powerful elephant. And his previous life is also given how he was a great devotee who was there. His name was Indradyumna Maharaj. So Indradyumna Maharaj was a very great devotee, and he was a very great king of a great, very opulent person, very dharmic king. But right at the correct time, he retired from family life. He retired from all that, and he engaged in full-time devotional service. Because even though he was a great king, he was also a great devotee of the Lord. So even in that pastime, we see he was engaging in this full-time devotional service. And later we all know how Agastya Rishi came to that place one day, where he was meditating on the Supreme Lord. And since this king, or since Indradyumna Maharaj could receive the Rishi very nicely, the Rishi got very angry and he cursed the king. The Rishi cursed the king that because the king was very powerful, but he didn't have any intelligence. So Rishi cursed him that you become an elephant. Elephant is very powerful, but the intelligence is very dull. And this Indradyumna Maharaj, he became the Gajendra, or the elephant that was there. So now we see one very interesting thing in the life of the in the pastime, or in that aspect, in the description of Gajendra Maharaj, or Gajendra, that elephant that was there. So how he was engaged in his family life, it was described that there was a very, very beautiful place, that Trikuta mountain that was there. And there was plush green atmosphere, there was amazing greenery, very, very beautiful lakes. And the complete place was meant for enjoyment. Many demigods were there, many different personalities, they used to come there. The Siddhas, the Charanas, they used to come there for enjoyment. And there Gajendra used to roam around, being very, very powerful. He was the king of that entire place. He also used to roam around because he was given the curse. He had forgotten whatever devotional service he has performed. He had forgotten all those things, and he was roaming around busy in sense gratification. Along with the female companions who were there, the female elephants who were there, all his relatives, all his associates, he used to roam around the place. And it is described he was very, very powerful, very, very strong. He was very, very strong, and everyone used to fear him. In that entire area, everyone was fearful of him. When he used to approach some place, the tigers that were there, the lions that were there, even they used to run away from that place. The great, great serpents used to run away from that place. So this elephant was very, very powerful. But then he was very, very much attached to his family. He was very much attached to the female elephants, the companions, the associates, the relatives. So even in that case, we see one day what happened is, he was intoxicated. He was completely busy in enjoyment, intoxication, and his eyes were also rolling. And this intoxicant was coming, dripping from his mouth, and he was in a completely different mood altogether. And that time he was feeling very, very thirsty. So this elephant was feeling very, very thirsty. He was very, very tired, fatigued. And that time he approached the lake that was described in that place. He went to the lake along with his companions. And there also, when he goes to the lake along with his companions, they take a dip in that lake. So first of all, he relieves his fatigue. He drinks the water. He relieves his fatigue. He becomes okay. And then it's described he starts throwing the water on his family members, throwing the water on his wife, throwing the water on his children, and also satisfying them, also pleasing them, or also giving them water so that they can drink. And there Shukdev Goswami describes very amazingly. He compares this to the attachment of family life. He says, Yatha grihi grihini karenu karbhams cha durmado. He says this attachment that the elephant had, even though he was very, very tired in the water, he could have just drink his water, and the females who were there, the wives who were there, the children, they could have also drank water themselves, and they could have gone out. But since the person was very, very much attached, even in all that, even though he was thirsty, he was ready to take the trouble to take the water from his tusk, from his trunk, and pour the water on all of them. Even though he was tired, even though he was thirsty, he was fatigued, he was ready to take the trouble. And that is what is described as the attachment of family life. How the person, even though there, as it's described in this verse also, how there are so many troubles in family life, there are so many problems. But because the person is in bodily identification, or how this elephant, he had forgotten his previous devotional service he had done, and he was completely illusioned. And that is why he was busy playing with the female elephant, or satisfying them, even endeavoring, or even suffering the pains on their behalf. Or even though he was fatigued, he was ready to take that endeavor. And that is what Prabhupada even describes in this verse, that a person describing to cross over these ritualistic ceremonies certainly feels pain like piercing of thorns and pebbles, endured by one's attempting to climb a hill. Just like a person tries to climb a hill, he also feels so much pain, so much troubles. Similarly, just like that elephant who was feeling the pain, who was tired that time, who was fatigued that time. But the person is ready to take all that endeavor, do all those things, just for the sake of his family members, just for the satisfaction. Or why? Because he's attached. As it's given in this verse, because Karshita Manaha. He's attached to all of them. And now in the purport, Prabhupada describes that how these ceremonies that are there, it is very, very difficult even to perform all the ceremonies. Especially they are very, very troublesome, and to perform each ceremony, the person feels the pain. Pain just like the piercing of thorns and pebbles. At every moment, every ceremony the person has to perform, he has to undergo a lot of hardship, or he has to work very hard to acquire money for that ceremony, to acquire the different possessions for that ceremony, so that he can execute that ceremony. And that's why consistently at every moment the person feels the pain. Person is going through all that pain just because he's attached. And that's why we see here even Prahlad Maharaj example, we see this same thing. He speaks in his prayers to Narasimha Dev, he speaks about this. That how a person is very, very much attached to family life, and he speaks something called as a Bahir Pran, or the Bahya Pran that is there. He speaks, one is the Antar Pran, we have the life air within us which makes us survive, and the Bahya Pran, that is the wealth which the people possess. And how the people are so much attached to acquiring money, to gaining more and more possessions, that they become completely illusioned. They don't realize, even though it's very, very painful, even though they have to go through many, many pains, many, many troubles, because they are illusioned, they are in the bodily concept of life, they are attached, they go through all those troubles just to get this Bhaya Prana, just to get this money, just to get this wealth. And that's what Prabhupada describes here in the purport, that therefore, because of this reason, the householders are very, very, very much distressed when they are confronted by these social duties. It is as though they were pierced by thorns and hurt by pebbles. But material attachment is so strong that despite the suffering, one cannot give it up. That even despite these sufferings, despite these problems, the person is not able to give it up. And that's what Prabhupada says later. He gives that example of the example of Prahlad Maharaj, and further he speaks. That's why highly advanced spiritualists therefore recommend that one should not enter the Grahastha ashram. It is better to prepare oneself, or it is better to prepare oneself in the Brahmacharya ashram for austerities and remain a pure Brahmachari throughout one's life, so that one will not feel the piercing thorns of material life in the Grahastha ashram. So this is the recommendation that is given here. This is the thing that is explained, that how naturally a person becomes attached in family life. And that's why who are advanced in spiritual life, who have attained little taste, who have got little taste in spiritual life, that's what he's saying, that they recommend not to enter this ashram. And we see how a person who is renounced, naturally he becomes detached from everything, or naturally his attachments go away. We see example of great spiritualists. We see even the example of Srila Prabhupada. How Prabhupada himself used to say that he was tested 2 times. One when he was in the depths of poverty, and one when he was in the pinnacle of success. But in both of the time, he was completely detached from everything. He was completely busy, engaged in devotional service, even though he had so much luxury, so many facilities, different temples, but he was not at all attached to them. Rather, we see that even in the end of his life, even though he could have got the best of the best treatment, he could have got best of the best facilities, but he was busy translating Srimad Bhagavatam in Shri Vrindavan Dham, because he was not at all attached to these facilities. How he was completely detached. And similarly, we see many examples of great saints who are renounced, or who are in the renounced ashram, completely detached from all the facilities. And that's why it's mentioned here that highly advanced spiritualists therefore recommend this thing. So the person, that ultimately if the objective is to get detached from everything, or to get detached from all the material engagement or material facilities that are there, then why unnecessarily get attached to it? That is what the recommendation that is given here. And of course, people sometimes don't accept it, that they say, it's not, how can someone live like this? This is not the correct way of living. Sometimes people talk like that. And they also say many different things are spoken. People say that Lord will be more pleased if the person is in the Grahastha ashram, if the person practices bhakti nicely and he pleases his family also nicely, then the Lord will be more pleased by his endeavor. He won't be happy by all these endeavors, or he won't be happy if the person disrespects, or person does not take care of his parents. Lord won't be happy by you. But here all those things are completely rejected. Here it's clearly mentioned that Lord is very, very much pleased, or the person who practice pure brahmachari or practice devotional service, engages in service of the Lord full time, the Lord is actually very, very much pleased by it. But just because someone else has implicated himself in that struggle, or in that piercing of thorns and pebbles, the person recommends to others also, how can you escape? You should also take this path. That is the recommendation that is given. But here the clear recommendation is given in the Shastras. Of course, the last point that is mentioned, that it is better to remain a pure brahmachari throughout one's life so that one will not feel the piercing thorns of material life. So that is definitely there in the Grahastha ashram. Many piercing thorns or many problems, many difficulties are there. And even if the karma of the person is not good, then he has to go through many troubles, many difficulties. But then ideally we understand this is not the best motivation to be full time, or this should not be the ideal motivation to practice full time devotional service. That a person is feeling so much pains and troubles there in the problems in that ashram, so he decides this. The best thing we understand in this ashram or in the ashram, in the brahmacharya ashram, is that we have a chance to completely depend on the Lord, or how naturally, or we have a chance to actually practice to live the life in such a way so that we can depend on the Lord, increase our dependence more and more on the Lord. Because how it's mentioned, everything, so many things that are mentioned in this purport, that to maintain the grahastha lifestyle, one has to work very hard to acquire money. So that is but obvious that the grahastha has to maintain his lifestyle, maintain his standard of living, and he has to work very hard to get all the possessions, get the money. And there is nothing called as brahmachari lifestyle. Brahmachari doesn't have to maintain any lifestyle. He's happy with whatever he gets. So he doesn't have to endeavor or care about all these things. He doesn't have to care about different possessions. He doesn't have to care about where the money will come from, or he doesn't have to care about where the center is going to shift, because anyways he has to practice devotional service wherever the things go. So that's why it's an amazing chance to practice full-time dependence on the Lord, we see in this ashrama. So one more aspect we see here, even as we were discussing the pastime of Gajendra. So we discussed till the time where he went in the lake. He went in the lake and he was busy enjoying with all his family members. He was busy enjoying with his wives. He was busy enjoying with the associates that were there. And that time one thing happened. That time one tragedy happens. And by the arrangement of the providence, one crocodile becomes very angry by this elephant. And the chief crocodile comes and he grabs the leg of this elephant. He grabs the leg of this elephant Gajendra very tightly. So even history of this crocodile is given. So this crocodile was a Gandharva in his previous life. He was a Gandharva named Huhu in his previous life. Yulu? Huhu, I think. Huhu, the Gandharva's name was Huhu. And this Gandharva was also engaged in material enjoyment. He was also very much attached. He was busy enjoying with the female companions that were there. And one day while he was busy enjoying with the female companions in the lake, playing sporting with those females, there was one rishi in that lake. And the rishi's name was Devala. So he was practicing austerities in that lake, and this person, maddened by the material enjoyment or maddened by the tendency of enjoying with the females, he by mistake pulled the leg of this rishi. And he pulled the leg of this rishi. This rishi became so angry, he cursed him that you become a crocodile, or you become a crocodile in your next life. So even that time, later he realized his mistake. Later he started begging forgiveness from the rishi. And the rishi said that you will get liberated in your next life because the Supreme Lord will personally come and he will deliver you. So then this person, he became a crocodile. He grabbed the leg of Gajendra. And that time Gajendra, as I already described, he was a very powerful elephant. He was the greatest, the most powerful personality in that entire area, and even the lions and the tigers used to flee from him. So naturally he thought that I can free myself from this. And he started putting all his effort, all his energy that was there. He started trying for a long time. He put all his energy just to get free from the clutches of this crocodile. He was trying his best, but he was not able to do that. He was not able to get free. Whatever he tried, sometimes he used to pull the crocodile above the water. The crocodile used to pull him back. And like that, back and forth, he continued. But ultimately, he realized he cannot do anything. Ultimately, he realizes this is the will of the providence. Because he was an animal of the land, he was very powerful on the land. And all the animals were fearful of him. But because now they were in the water, and crocodile is an animal of the water, he was powerful in the water. So even though the elephant Gajendra tried a lot of freeing himself, pulling his leg, in different ways he tried freeing himself. But he was not able to free himself, trying any means. And even the associates that were there, it was described the elephant always used to roam around with many, many associates, different associates, relatives, the females, the wives. When all of them saw that this person, Gajendra, is not able to help himself, he is not able to free himself, the associates became compassionate. They also tried pulling him. They also tried pulling his leg by the trunks. They also tried bringing him above the water, bringing him outside the water. They also tried getting him free from the clutches of this crocodile. But then the crocodile was very powerful and it was inside the water. These elephants were also helpless. They also tried their best, but they also couldn't do anything. They used to pull him above and then the crocodile used to pull him back. And they also became helpless. The females that were there, the wives that were there, they also thought that, okay, they also saw that these people are not able to do anything. Let us try something. Let us try to help our husband, our dear husband. And they also started trying. All the wives simultaneously tried pulling him out, tried to help him as much as possible. But then there were females, they were weak, they also couldn't do anything. And then they started crying. Seeing his condition, they just started crying. And that time Gajendra realized this very amazing thing. Gajendra got this realization that even though all these people are there, all the associates I had, all the relatives who always were with me, my wives who were always consistently with me, as my support always, everyone is there with me, even now. But then all of them are helpless. At the time of difficulty, no one can help us. Or all these family members, all the people who a person relied on, all of them cannot protect a person. So even as it's mentioned in this purport, that even though a person tries his best, works so hard, feels so many thorns in that family life, at the time of difficulty, even those people cannot help him. Or as Prahlad Maharaj says, that a king or a boatman cannot protect a drowning person, a doctor or physician cannot protect a patient, and a father cannot protect a child. That no one in this world can protect anyone. People might feel we have so many shelters, of people might take shelter of different personalities in this world. But when problems come, when difficulties come, everyone becomes helpless. And this is what Gajendra understood at that time. He was relying on all those people or all those associates that were there, but no one could help him at the time of difficulty. But since this personality had practiced devotional service in his previous life, and as the Lord gives the assurance in the Bhagavad Gita, Swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahoto bhayat, that even if a little devotional service performed in this life, it remains consistently with us, or it remains always there, or that is never destroyed. So somehow, because he had chanted prayers in his past, he had done nice devotional service, somehow by the mercy of the Lord, he was able to realize all these things. He was able to realize that all these are false shelters. They are not the shelters that can actually help me. And then he realized I should take shelter of the Supreme Lord, or I should offer praise to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because he is the only one that can give me actual protection. All these people, they are still there. They are there in front of me, but they cannot do anything. They are just helpless. And that's when the king of the elephant starts to actually take shelter of the Lord. And there also very amazing thing is described, that he takes shelter only of the Supreme Lord. Because he was a devotee in his past life, he starts calling out, he prays to the Supreme Lord, and he only prays that I want to get free from this problem or get free from this misery, but I want help only from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's described that when they were engaged in that tussle, or when the crocodile had held the leg of the elephant, and the elephant finally starts offering prayers, all the demigods were also present. Different Brahma was there, Shiva was there, all the different demigods, denizens were there. And they were also witnessing all that was happening there. They were also witnessing how the tussle is going on, and they were also surprised that how for 1,000 years it is going on. It seems for 1,000 years this continued. The elephant was losing with time, he was losing his enthusiasm, he was losing his energy. But the crocodile, being an animal of the water, he was gaining strength, or he was becoming more and more powerful. But even in that circumstance, when the elephant realized that now I am about to be killed, or now I will die, even in that circumstance, even though all the demigods were there, and he could have called out to the demigods also, and they were also ready, they could have come there and protected him. But he starts offering his prayers only to the Supreme Lord. He says that who is the cause of all causes, who is the one who created everyone, who is the one who is the cause of even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. May that Supreme Lord come and protect me from this. Protect me from this problem. Or protect me from this trouble. And that time in these prayers, the very amazing prayers, he is not actually asking relief that may the Lord come and protect him from the grab of this crocodile. Protect him from this problem. He said that I want to get free from the clutches of material life. That I want to get free from these clutches of fruitive activity or the garma banda. I'm bound in this world and I want to get out of this struggle. Or I want to go back to Godhead. Even in that distressful condition, even that painful condition, because of his past devotional service, he prays to the Supreme Lord and he prays for getting out of the clutches of birth and death or getting out of the cycle of birth and death. He does not pray for getting relief from that crocodile, that may that crocodile leave me. He says that I want to get out of this or get out of this world altogether. And that's how, in that condition also, the person, as we see in this pastime also, Gajendra realizes that even though family members or the illusion that people are in this world are, that they have so many possessions, they have money, they have family members, that these people can help me at the time of difficulty or these people can help me at the time of death. But here, even in this pastime, it's made quite clear that all those people were there, everyone was there, but no one could help Gajendra at the time of difficulty. And finally, when he took shelter of the Supreme Lord, and then as we all know in the pastime, as it continues, the Lord personally comes on Garuda, and it's described he comes with great speed. He's very, very anxious to save his devotee. He comes with great speed. He picks up the elephant. He severs the head of the crocodile, and the elephant goes back to Godhead. Elephant actually goes back to Godhead, and as soon as the Lord touches the elephant gets a eternal form. He gets a four-handed form, and he goes back to Godhead in that form. This is how, as we were discussing, that how we have this opportunity to completely depend on the Lord in this ashram. And a person who completely depends on the Lord personally comes and protects that personality. Or Gajendra, till the time he was depending on his own strength, he was depending that these people can protect me. No one came for his protection, and these people also couldn't do anything. But finally, when he relied on the Supreme Lord, he actually prayed to the Supreme Lord. The Lord personally came for his protection, and Lord took him back to Godhead. It's described he got Sarupya Mukti, he got the same form as the Lord. So this is how we see this amazing example that in the Grihastha ashrama, naturally it becomes difficult to completely depend on the Lord. And naturally a person goes through so many so many pains, so many problems. And naturally he becomes materially attached because of the so many possessions he occupies. And that is why it becomes difficult, or that is what is given in this purport, that the recommendation is given that a person, if possible, or if his nature suits, he doesn't enter that ashrama. He doesn't enter the Grihastha ashrama. We see another example. We see even the example of Sanatan Goswami. So in this matter, we see when Sanatan Goswami, when he wanted to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted to leave his service. So we know he was engaged in the service of Nawab Hussain Shah. Both of the brothers, Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, they were engaged in the service of Nawab Hussain Shah. And Rupa Goswami retires earlier and he leaves the place. And later Sanatan Goswami also decides that I also want to retire from this and I want to serve the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So even in that pastime, he says first he decides that I want to leave this place. He takes retirement or he takes a sick leave. He doesn't go to work. He doesn't go to work in the Nawab's office. And it seems he had a very, very important, eminent position in that office. So after a long time when he was not available, he was not coming for his duty. The Nawab first sends his physician. The Nawab sends his physician at Sanatan Goswami's home to check what is going on, what is wrong with this person, or why is he not coming to the office, or is he really not well? And the physician sees that Sanatan Goswami was busy engaged with Brahmanas reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam. He was busy engaged and he was not at all sick. So the person that was sent by this Nawab Hussain Shah, that person goes back to Nawab Hussain Shah, the worker, and he tells that he's completely okay. The physician tells he's completely okay, he's not at all ill. And then the Nawab becomes very, very angry. Nawab becomes angry, and we know the entire pastime cut short. Nawab comes through that place, and then Sanatan Goswami tells that I want to retire from this service. I want to engage in the service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nawab does not agree to that, and he puts him in prison. He imprisons him and he leaves that place. So in that pastime, what happens? There is something very interesting which happens later after this. So he was imprisoned in that place. He was thinking of different ways how to get out of this. He receives the news that Mahaprabhu is now in Vrindavan, and then later he'll be going to Varanasi. And then he starts planning something. He uses all his skills. He somehow allures that jailkeeper who was there, tells him that he'll give him some gold coins and somehow let him free or let him go from that place. Or he allures him by giving him different allurements, giving him the different gold coins. And finally, this jailkeeper allows Sanatan Goswami to leave that place. So it's described Sanatan Goswami had some savings of around 7,000 gold coins, and he gave everything to this jailkeeper, and he leaves. He leaves that place just to serve Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But there in his place, while he was going from this, one more person follows him. And that was the servant of Sanatan Goswami. His name was Ishan. So both of them leave that place. Both of them had left from the service, and they were not going through the main road because they knew that Nawab would be following. Nawab would try to capture them. So they were going through the forest area. So they were going through that forest area, and they were searching for the path. They didn't have proper things to eat. They were very thirsty. They were very tired. And they didn't know which is the correct path to go. And there it's described they reach a place where they meet one landholder or one landlord who was there. And they request him that please help us. We are very tired. We do not know which path to go. And they describe their situation that we cannot go through the main road. So please help us so that please direct us in the correct way. And this landlord somehow was very, very welcoming. He welcomed them nicely, provided them nice facilities, nice place to stay. He gave them food to eat, or he gave them certain vegetables so that they can cook their own food and eat. And he was very, very in a kind way. He was in a kind way very, very much helping these two personalities. And Sanatan Goswami, after taking some rest, after eating the food, he went for his bath. And that time he started analyzing the situation. He thought that because he was in diplomacy before, he knew no one would help a person without any reason. He could understand that this person or this landlord has some hidden motive inside. Or why is he serving us so nicely? And the next thing he asked to Ishan is that, do you have some money with you, or did you brought some gold coins with you? And there Ishan reveals that yes, I brought 8 gold coins with me. And Sanatan Goswami becomes very, very angry. He said that, why have you brought this death knell with us? Or why did you bring money with us? Or actually Ishan tells that I have brought 7 gold coins with me. And Sanatan Goswami says, why have you brought this money with you? And immediately he collects the money from Ishan, collects the money from his servant, and hands the money to landlord or landholder who was there, and tells him that you take all this money, but please help me find a path, or please help me direct me in the correct path. And then the landlord actually reveals his actual plan, what was there. And landlord tells him that I had an astrologer who had told me that you have 8 gold coins, or your servant has 8 gold coins with him, and I was planning to kill you in the night. I was planning to kill you in the night and take all the money that was there with me. But now you are such a nice person, you gave the money by yourself. Since you have given the money to me by yourself, so you can take the money. You can take the money with you, and I can help you find the correct path. But Sanatan Goswami told him that even if I take this money, someone else will kill me for it. So I do not want this money. You take everything and just help me find the correct path. So there Sanatan Goswami, that person, landlord sends 4 men with Sanatan Goswami, and all of them goes on that path, or they direct him to the correct path. And one more person was following him. His name was Ishan, the servant who was there. And now after they direct him to the correct path, the servants leave from there. The 4 persons who are accompanying Sanatan Goswami, they left from that place. Finally, Sanatan Goswami asks Ishan that, do you still have something with you? And Ishan tells him that, yes, I still have 1 gold coin. And then Sanatan Goswami tells him, "Theek hai, you go home now." So even though both of them were going for the service of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Ishan also had the opportunity to get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But because he was still attached, because he wanted to keep the money with himself, because he couldn't take the shelter of the Lord properly, or he couldn't completely depend on the Lord, he was asked to return from that place. And Sanatan Goswami says, you take this money with you and you return back, and I will go alone from this place. And this is how we see that unless a person doesn't depend fully on the protection of the Lord, as we see in both of the pastimes, When both of these personalities, they depended or they completely depended on the Supreme Lord for their protection, the Lord helped them in numerous ways. Even in the pastime of Sanatan Goswami, it's later described. So further he was going, he meets a person, or he was going in that path, and he was again very, very thirsty, very, very tired. Then he meets another personality, his name was Shrikant. And this happened to be his sister's husband. And Shrikant was also a rich man, so he received Sanatan very, very nicely. And he tells him that you rest here for some time. You take rest for some time. I'll give you nice facility. Then you can take bath and go from here. But Sanatan Goswami was completely dependent or completely busy in his mind that he wants to meet the Supreme Lord. He said that I do not want to wait here even for a moment. I want to go ahead. You just help me pass through this Ganges, and I want to go and meet Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he helps him, he goes further, he crosses the Ganges, and finally he reaches Varanasi, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was residing in Varanasi in the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya. So there Sanatan Goswami goes, he take rest at the door of Chandrasekhar, he sits near the door of Chandrasekhar, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood that Sanatan has come, a great devotee has come. And he asked Chandrasekhar that go out, a great devotee has come, you call him inside. And Chandrasekhar goes out, he sees everywhere. He sees some mendicant, some beggar sitting there with a huge beard and tattered, torn clothes. And he said that no one is outside. Mahaprabhu said a great Vaishnava has come. Only some Muslim mendicant, it seems, is sitting outside. Apart from it, no one is there outside. And Mahaprabhu says, yes, I'm talking about that person. You bring him inside. And finally, when Sanatan Goswami was brought inside, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very, very happy on seeing his devotee, very, very happy on seeing him, and he embraces Sanatan Goswami. And it's described that time Sanatan Goswami is telling us, please don't embrace me, I'm very dirty, I'm very contaminated. But Lord was very, very happy, very, very happy embracing Sanatan Goswami. And Lord even says that by touching your body, I am getting purified. And this is how we see that the glory of these devotees who depended completely on the protection of the Lord. Sanatan Goswami never told Ishan that yet bring some gold coins with me, get some money with me, or we need some protection for ourselves. He was completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Similarly, Gajendra, when he completely depended on the Supreme Lord, Lord personally came for their protection and Lord protected them. And here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also he was very, very happy seeing Sanatan Goswami, very, very happy embracing Sanatan Goswami. And this is what we see, the point I was trying to make, as it's mentioned here, even in the purport which Prabhupada focuses, that there is a natural opportunity in this ashrama to cultivate that dependence on the Lord, because naturally we are detached from other things. Naturally we don't have the opportunity to depend on other people, to depend on family members, on relatives, and naturally we don't have any need to acquire money, or we don't have to endeavor in that end. Of course, we also have to endeavor, we also have to work very hard, but that is only for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. So this way we say how when a devotee cultivates this dependence on the Supreme Lord, when he becomes more and more dependent on the Supreme Lord, Lord becomes very, very pleased by it. And when the Lord understands that this person is completely dependent on me for his protection, as we see in this pastimes, Lord personally comes and delivers that personality. Both the pastimes we see that aspect. And that is why, as Prabhupada writes in this purport, that as it's mentioned, that in Grihastha ashram one has to accept many invitations from friends, relatives, perform many ceremonies, and a person naturally becomes captivated by these things. But on the other hand, in the Brahmachari ashram, a person naturally, he can practice austerities, he can endeavor a lot, but just for the satisfaction of Guru and Krishna. And with time, he can become detached from all the material things. And the more he depends on the Supreme Lord, the Lord reciprocates similarly. As we see in this pastimes, and the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tateva bhajameham. That the more a person depends on the Supreme Lord for protection, more a person takes shelter of the Lord, Lord also personally takes care. So with this, I would like to pause here. Any questions, comments, or we can end? Yes, please. Hare Krishna, brother.
Very excellent class. It shows you read all the scriptures and you quoted them nicely.
I heard some of the scriptures.
It was a very good class, and I thought it is on me only, because I have passed through all these thrones and pebbles. I and now I am in that Vanprastha stage. I climbed that particular hill and gone through all pebbles and thrones. So I thought this particular class is on me only. So I realized it, and you described it very nicely. It was a very excellent class, first of all. And then I just want to inquire one small question. I heard in one lecture that almost 2% are only brahmachari, 98% are grahastha. And grahastha ashram also nourishes all three ashramas. So what do you say about it? What is your opinion about it?
And so what's the question in this?
Grahasthashram is important.
Yes, grahastha ashram is also important. You mentioned here you should become brahmachari. And one of
No, I think
one of my
see,
son is
Prabhupada has mentioned this in the
Prabhupada told he explained it nicely.
Yeah.
Very judicially proved it. Yes. One always should go for brahmachari ashram, not for grahastha ashram. And one of my son is also brahmachari and one is grahastha.
Oh.
So I just wanted to ask if it is also a known fact. Only 2% of ISKCON are brahmacharis, 98% are grahastha. And grahastha ashram is important because it nourishes all the three ashramas. So what is your suggestion? How a grahastha ashram should perform its duty?
Oh. So I think what I have heard from Prabhuji also, that based on the nature of a person, if a person doesn't suits in one ashrama, naturally he can take the other ashrama, because most important is to practice devotional service. If a person is peaceful in that ashrama, he can practice devotional service nicely in that ashram. And even if he comes here thinking, okay, this is better, I should come here, but he's not able to be peaceful in this ashram, not able to practice devotional service in this ashram, then it won't be suitable for him. So naturally, this is the recommended one. But if a person is not suitable to that, or a person, as it's given in this purport, the person has some attachments, person wants to have some enjoyment or enjoy the life also in some way, in some aspects, then that ashram is recommended, that he can do all those, or whatever things he has, whatever aims, ambitions he has, he can fulfill those things and practice bhakti peacefully in that ashrama. So naturally, to get that kind of renunciation, to take to brahmachari ashram, not everyone can take, or it's not very easy for everyone to take. And if someone's nature suits that, so for that Prabhupada is recommended that this is the better way. That's what I think on this. And Prabhuji can better explain, I think.
I think you have explained.
Right. Yeah.
So very happy to see that devotees crossed all the stones and turtles and found us here with us.
I'm in one ashrama. I just retired on the 31st of May.
So then, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की.